So now we've completed Unit 2, let's do some sample exam questions based on the topics that we've covered. So question, what describes improvement? Is it A, formally documenting statements of management expectations? Is it B, enhancing the ability of a service or product to deliver value? Is it C, creating a method of achieving a service provider goal? Or is it D, providing guidance to the service provider organisation? So, answer to the question, what describes improvement? The correct answer is B, enhancing the ability of a service or product to deliver value. If you remember, improvement was defined as a deliberately introduced change that results in increased value for one or more stakeholders. We can discount statement A because that's really talking about policies. Yeah. We can discount C because that's talking about planning. And we can discount D because that's talking about really direction. So the correct answer to this question is B. Question, which concept best ensures that activities are carried out following agreed standards or guidelines? Is it A, governance? Is it B, management? Is it C, improvement? Or is it D, compliance? So, answer to the question, which concept best ensures that activities are carried out following agreed standards or guidelines? The correct answer is D, compliance. Compliance is described as both the act and result of ensuring that a standard or set of guidelines is followed, or that proper, consistent accounting or other practices are employed. We can discount A, governance, because governance is the means by which an organisation is directed and controlled. We can discount B, management, because that's a set of coordinated activities to define, control, supervise and improve something. And we can discount C, improvement, because improvement is described as a deliberately introduced change that results in increased value for one or more stakeholders. So the correct answer to this question is D, compliance. Question, which statement about value, outcome, cost and risk is correct when directing, planning or improving a service? Is it A, removing risk from the consumer is the primary objective of a service? Is it B, costs introduced by the service should be equal to the costs removed from the consumer? Is it C, value cannot be achieved by accepting additional risks? And D, value can be created by accepting additional costs? Answer to the question, which statement about value, outcome, cost and risk is correct when directing, planning or improving a service? The correct answer to this question is D. Value can be created by accepting additional costs. You will recall when we covered this topic in Unit 2, we actually discussed the situation where actually a consumer may be willing to accept affected outcomes, additional costs and or increased risk if the value created is worth accepting those affected outcomes, costs and risks. So for example, to be first to market. We can discount A, removing risk from the consumer is the primary objective of a service. Well, achieving desired outcomes, is the primary purpose of a service, and it requires resources and therefore costs and is often associated with risk. So A isn't appropriate. We can discount B. Costs introduced by the service should be equal to the costs removed from the consumer. Well, we've already discussed the fact that sometimes we're moving from one service to another, from one supplier to another. There may be additional costs. Again, if in the context of value that's acceptable, then that's fine too. So we can discount B. And C, value cannot be achieved by accepting additional risks. Well, we've already said in the answer for D that actually occasionally we may be prepared to take additional risks, again, if the value created is worth taking those additional risks. So we can discount C. So the correct answer to this question is D. Question: which best describes a mission statement? Is it A, a short statement of organisational challenges and ideas to overcome these challenges? Is it B, a short statement of how the organisation will adopt new practices in the future? Is it C, a short statement of the overall purpose and intentions of an organisation? Or is it D, a set of key performance indicators that must be achieved for the organisation to be successful? The correct answer to this question is C, a short statement of the overall purpose and intentions of an organisation. So when we understand that, we can see that we can discount A and B because they don't describe the purpose or intent. They talk more about what needs to be done. Equally, we can discount D as key performance indicators, which we'll describe later in the course, are more about actually how we sort of manage progress against objectives. So the correct answer to which best describes a mission statement is C. Question: which best describes the difference between a policy and a guideline? Is it A, larger, more mature organisations often use policies, but modern organisations often rely more on guidelines? Is it B, guidelines are simplified policies that are easier to follow because they do not recommend specific procedures? Is it C, policies are used where there are external regulatory requirements, but guidelines are used for internal requirements? Or is it D, policies are formal statements of management expectations, but guidelines are recommended ways of working? So, answer to the question, which best describes the difference between a policy and a guideline? The correct answer is D. Policies are formal statements of management expectation, but guidelines are recommended ways of working. You'll recall when we looked at policies and guidelines, we used an example of information security policy that covered sort of password management. And we also talked about a guideline to provide users with some suggested ways of setting a good password. For example, not using, a birthday or a family name. So, understanding that, we can discount A because the nature or maturity level of an organisation doesn't really dictate how policies and guidelines are used. We can discount B. Guidelines and policies can cover similar topics, but they're separate and distinct. And we can discount C because use of a policy versus a guideline is not dependent on sort of internal or external requirements. So the correct answer for this question is D. Question: what is an example of an organisational or procedural control to reduce risk? Is it A, automated workflow? Is it B, electronic badge entry system? Is it C, documented policies and processes? Is it D, required fields in forms? Answer to the question, What is an example of an organisational or procedural control to reduce risk? The correct answer is C, documented policies and processes. You'll recall when we talked about controls, we said there were sort of three methods that we can consider. One was organisational or procedural control, which was the sort of documentation of policies, assigning ownership, making sure training takes place so people understand, making sure processes are in place to reflect what's needed. But we also talked about the importance of logical and technical controls where we can enforce a control. So again, we use that example of enforcing a change of password after a set period of time as a good example of a logical and technical control. And we also talked about physical controls such as entry into maybe a data hall or a sensitive part of the organisation's sort of campus site. So on the basis of that, A is logical and technical, B is physical, and D is another example of logical and technical. So the correct answer to the question is C. Question: what is required in an operating model? And this is a combination question, so we need to select two statements that associate with an operating model. So do we cover statement 1, a clear picture of how value is created? Statement 2, clear policies and procedures for daily operations. Is it statement 3, measures and reports to demonstrate performance? Is it 4, description of how the organisation runs itself? So is it A, statements 1 and 2? Is it B, statements 2 and 3? Is it C, statements 3 and 4? Or is it D, statements 1 and 4? Answer to the question, what is required in an operating model? So the two statements that best reflect an operating model, the correct answer is D, statements 1 and 4. You'll recall when we used the service value chain as an example of an operating model, we said that it helps to give a visual sort of representation of how an organisation co-creates value with its customers and other stakeholders through its products and services. So it has that sort of visual representation. And we also said when we understand the activities undertaken within the service value chain, within that operating model, then it helps us to better understand how the organisation runs itself. So on that basis, we can discount statement 2 because clear policies and procedures for daily operations are not required for an operating model. And equally, we can discount 3, measures and reports to demonstrate performance, again, are not required as part of an operating model. So the correct answer to this question is D. Question: when would it be most appropriate for an organisation to accept additional risks, increased costs or diminished outcomes? Is it A, when it creates the possibility of increased value? Is it B, when implementing a new artificial intelligence solution? Is it C, when directed by the GRC function? Or is it D, when collecting data as part of a maturity assessment? Answer to the question, when would it be most appropriate for an organisation to accept additional risks, increased costs or diminished outcomes? The correct answer to this question is A, when it creates the possibility of increased value. Again, we covered this in Unit 2 when we looked at value, outcomes, cost and risk, and we said an organisation may choose to accept additional risk, increased costs or diminished outcomes if doing so will create the possibility of increased value. So So when we understand that, then B, C and D we can quickly discount as not appropriate in the context of the question.